Welcome to another edition of Thought Leaders Live, where we talk with thought leaders in business, life, and all points in between. Today, I am joined by Susan Tyson, and we're going to talk about the revenue blind spot, why sales and marketing misalignment costs you deals. Susan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I'm tickled to be here.
Yeah, so as it says in the description, most manufacturers think they have a sales or marketing problem, and often it's neither. The real issue is a coordination problem hiding in the space between the two, and it's quietly costing you deals. So we're going to dive into that and what is a revenue blind spot with Susan. She's a revenue growth advisor, more than 40 years of experience in spanning corporate leadership, agency management, and consulting, and she specializes in helping manufacturers and other B2B firms align their sales and marketing around a common growth strategy. So, Susan, that's your description from the show, but why don't you tell us in your own words a little bit more about your personal journey and professional as well?
My personal journey is always a fun story to tell because I have the most convoluted career path. Definitely not linear. From the time back when I was a kid, I only did 1 year of college. I know, my bad. It wasn't until I was in my 40s that I went back to school and I got my undergrad and my master's degree. And I just always took jobs that looked like they'd be a lot of fun. Especially when I'm talking to young people and they're looking for career advice, I said, no, that's not, don't do what I did. But
Sounds like a great path to me, actually.
I had fun. I learned a boatload of stuff. And I worked with companies as diverse as Chicago Sun-Times, Carson Peary Scott, United States Postal Service, Oldsmobile, Similac Welcome Edition Club. I worked at cars.com probably for the longest stint, but a pretty diverse list of companies. But through that, I think I was lucky enough that I learned something from every situation. I worked with an awful lot of companies that had sales teams. I was part of the marketing team, but I got a chance to work very closely with sales teams an awful lot. And that really led me to where I am now with recognizing this revenue blind spot, which sadly, just about any company that you can name that has a sales-led company suffers from this. It's that seam, that intersection, especially between sales and marketing, where the handoff just isn't smooth. So sales can generate leads. They turn them over to marketing. Marketing generates leads. They turn them over to sales, but they both are doing a good job working on both sides there, but there's nobody internally with the responsibility for tracking that lead. There's also one of the other symptoms of a revenue blind spot is in the messaging that you have marketing. And I can say this because I came out of the marketing department, but you have marketing that is up in their ivory tower talking like big picture, glorified corporate speak with fancy, shiny brochures that the sales team throws in the trunk and they create their own sales material because that fancy corporate speed stuff just doesn't work when you're sitting across the table with a prospect. So salespeople end up creating their own materials, which in all their glory. But I can't blame them because, especially in hindsight, thinking about what we were getting we were delivering from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday and the importance of, management has these ideas, somebody's got an idea, somebody's got a concept, and it doesn't matter unless it sells. It's not going to work unless it sells.
Right,
And I always like listen to the producers, listen to who is generating the revenue, what are they saying, what is moving the dial, find out what is selling, and then build your marketing off of that. But
right.
instead, you kind of get the opposite approach, and that doesn't really work too well. So,
Yeah. And marketing has never gone on a sales call.
yeah, yep, yeah. If the marketing doesn't work, yeah, that's usually the case.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, let's talk a little bit about. Okay, so this is a blind spot. So we've got. Let's just go through this scenario. Marketing generates a lead. You've got a lead, and it goes over to the sales team. And typically, in my experience, what happens is sales is paid to generate revenue like today, and if they don't if they don't see that as a lead that's going to turn, most of them, a lot of them will maybe just put it in the CRM and not touch it,
Mhm.
or they'll kick it back or just ignore it entirely. And so, what are you saying, like with what you're saying here? I mean, you talk about it as a strategy and coordination problem. What is the issue here? I mean, it seems like we've got some lukewarm prospects. What do you do to solve that?
Well, it just, think about those prospects. They get a call out of the blue from a salesperson who maybe the lead was generated because uh, demographically, psychographically, this looked like a good lead, or the lead was generated from a trade show or from some online ads, and it eventually works its way to the salespeople. Um, there's so right there's a gap from when a prospect submits a lead and says they want to talk to somebody to when they're going to talk to them, and inevitably that gap means the prospect has already solved the problem and moved on, or forgot about the problem and moved on.
So
So
you're talking about a time gap, right?
there's that time gap. So then when the salesperson contacts this prospect, they may no longer have that need, or it's not as pressing a need, and then the lead goes in the not now file.
Hmm. Okay.
And the not now file is in the CRM, is the place where leads go to die.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've worked at companies where they only cared about brand new leads, and they only cared about brand new leads that the salespeople could sell right then.
Yeah.
And their not now file was huge because they didn't have any kind of a nurturing campaign um, in place. And so think of the scenario that prospect, Bob, the prospect, was interested in solution A, and starts doing some research and contacts my company and your company, and at the same time, and my company kind of slow pokes the lead from inbound and over to the salespeople, and then the salespeople close. In the meantime, your company is set up so that the lead goes to the salesperson right away, and within hours of getting the lead, while it's still hot in the prospect's mind. Your company has a much greater chance at closing that lead.
Sure. So what do you see as that strategy and coordination problem? Excuse me. What are some ways that you advise people to solve those?
Uh, I think that I'd like to see them pay a little bit more attention to those places where there are these gaps in the lead handoff, for example. Do a test with um, a handful of leads and look to really track them through the funnel and see where they're going. That's something that's rarely done.
Um, we were talking before the show about um, hidden revenue leaks like this, and ones that never appear. They don't even appear in your CRM or your pipeline reports. And we just talked about an example there. Do you have some other revenue leaks that you see typically? Some what you call blind spots?
One, probably the most glaringly obvious one, and the one that is um, easiest to fix, is when the the marketing team has one message, the sales team has a different message, and the website has another message completely.
Mm.
And if you know, if you're the prospect and you're getting those three different messages, you're likely not going to make any decision because there's no concrete information there. Um, another um, another example, um, with as you're talking from a CRM standpoint, somebody goes to a trade show and talks to somebody on the show floor. Um, they they submit a lead, um, or they pick up a business card, but nobody ever follows up. Or if they do follow up, and I think this is another one of those really egregious situations. They come back from the show, and that's when marketing starts trying to figure out how they're going to sort the leads and get them out to the field and segment them. And so marketing delivers them over to sales apps, and sales apps assigns all those leads. And a couple of weeks can go by before the lead gets to the prospect, and by that time they've already forgotten everything that they learned at the show, everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's another obvious gap. Mm-hmm.
So give me some solutions that you propose with these. I mean, we've got plenty of problems, and we've got these, this, like you I think the big issue is this graveyard where the leads go to die because they're, I just don't think sales is going to go after them. um they are just not active, and they could be buying within the next year, but sales doesn't get paid by that. Do you think it's more marketing's responsibility for that sale, those lead graveyards? I mean, what do we do with those?
Um, as a former marketer, I take offense, Greg. I don't think we want to say that it's any fault of one or the other. It's just the
No,
reality.
I'm not saying it's anybody's fault. I'm
Oh,
saying it's
okay.
whose responsibility is it moving forward with those leads? Like,
I don't know if I don't think that it's necessarily the fault of sales or marketing per se. Perhaps it's a sales apps sort of opportunity, um, but it's that tracking part of it that is just so important, just so crucial. Um, and and I think too with companies, what I found is once they're made aware of it, they're they're more likely to start to build programs and solutions. Um, so I think that it's the biggest problem is the lack of awareness.
yeah, yeah. So I think there's, like, a friend of mine always said, find out how people are compensated, and then that's usually going to answer a lot of questions about where their priorities are going to be.
Mm.
And I think I just feel like somehow that that handoff from those the sales, the lead graveyard where marketing
Yeah.
created the leads, sales said no, I don't want it, they're not ready right now. I just feel like that maybe that's marketing's job is to go back in and cultivate those and somehow make that keep that contact alive and fresh until they are ready. Is that what
I
you see
think that
happening?
that's I think that's one opportunity where sales could or marketing could develop some nurturing campaigns on on the graveyard, customized based on the lead source, and uh, I um, caution a little bit about automating it too much. I
Yeah,
think that this is, if you're going to bring the leads out of the graveyard, as we'll call it now, um, you you want to kind of carefully look at uh, these leads and assign them. Perhaps you have three different types of nurturing campaigns that they would have, but then um, get the sales team to re-engage with the lead as well, um, as because it's really the sales team is the one that's really skilled at talking to a customer and closing the deal. Sadly, that's not something that marketing is is skilled at.
right.
But in addition to that, I'd like to see more companies get rid of the separate KPIs for marketing and for sales. Um, Marketing is rewarded based on the number of leads that they generate, but they're not rewarded based on the revenue generated, and that's nutty.
Yeah,
Both marketing and sales works for the same company, at least last I saw.
yeah,
And I'd like to see them work in tangent and work with the same set of KPIs. I'd like to see, that so many companies are set up so that marketing is the other side of the room, the other side of the building from sale. I'd like to see them working closer together, meeting more frequently. Uh, I'd like to see marketing listening and really listening to sales conversations. Hang out in the boiler room and listen to the sales conversations. Get your headsets on, listen, get a real feel for what it's like being on the phone. Um, and also I want to see sales reporting back, having a conversation with marketing with more market insights, and this is what we're hearing out in the field. And these are the three questions that come up most often. That's what needs to be covered in the marketing communications that go out there. So
yeah,
I want to see marketing and sales talking to each other like they're buddies
yeah,
and not adversaries. Um,
yeah,
and in too many companies I've seen, they're adversaries.
yeah, yeah, exactly. We uncovered some data. It's a little bit it's old, but it was a report done by the Aberdeen Group, and it said companies that are aligned, sales and marketing, could have a 20% increase in revenue, but companies that aren't could have a 4% decrease in
Sure,
revenue
sure,
because they spend so much money on all these leads that nobody's closing.
right.
Um, I'm very intrigued by your revenue model and the idea that both sales and marketing should be compensated for revenue. Now we know that sales, that's the case right now. I mean,
Mm-hmm,
sales is already compensated.
mm-hmm,
What are some of your thoughts on how marketing could get compensated for revenue? Because marketing traditionally is just a fixed cost,
mm-hmm.
and they are not subject to the to the rise and falls in revenue. And I was a marketing director early in my career and was tied to an overall compensation, like overall revenue generation of the
Mhm.
that the company made. I made a percentage off of that. But curious what some of your thoughts are on how to compensate marketing.
Well, there still is the need for that very top of the funnel marketing communication. There still is that's very important. But I think what's missing in marketing departments is recognizing uh, that how important, for example, trade shows are for sales leads, and I am, what marketing can do to be involved with um, uh, the pre-show communication and getting people into the booth, and then tracking those booth visitors through to a close. The same with any online ads that are going on, and that kind of thing. They just need to uh, uh, be able to be much more granular with uh, tracking through the leads as they go through the funnel. I had somebody tell me a situation that they worked at with marketing being so pleased that they had, I don't know, pick a number, 18,000 leads came in from there. That's probably too many, but you know this many leads came through from their event, and they very proudly uh, announced that in a board meeting. And then somebody said, but how many of them closed?
Yeah.
And marketing was like, that's not my job. My job is just to bring in leads. And that's one of those gaps. That's a gap we have to close.
Yeah.
So they have to be willing to take those leads beyond just form fills and tracking from that standpoint, and be involved in the process to get them all the way through to a sale.
Well, I think traditionally, and not to keep pounding on marketing, that's just more my forte, but um, I think that traditionally it's rolling out email drip campaigns. Um, and that's, rolling out a drip campaign and having a web tracking, lead scoring,
Mhm.
letting people know, letting the sales team know when the prospects hit the website two or three times. That seems like it's almost that's what we hear time and time again. I always kind of question the repeated, we've run drip campaigns for people. Um, and I think just today there's such a barrage of emails and stuff like that. You got to wonder at some point if how the effectiveness of this, but are you seeing anything out there, or do you have any thoughts on ways marketing could help on that cultivation side of things?
Um, it just using your drip campaign as an example. Um, that drip campaigns um, perhaps need to be better segmented.
Okay.
Um, so rather than doing the same kind of a campaign to all of your graveyard leads, the drip campaign perhaps needs to be segmented a little bit better, um, based on the lead source. And it would be great. There's so many times in a lead form that the ask for the person submitting the form to fill out so many questions and check so many boxes, but I I mean, you need to really use that information if you're going to ask for it.
Right.
So, um, following up on those lead forms, but with campaigns that are very specific for if you checked A on the form versus C on the form.
Yeah.
I think that, the overwhelmed email inboxes is really a symptom of just too much. Everybody is just doing too much. But I'm sure you've had it happen where the emails that really interest you, you pay attention to.
Yeah,
And
very true.
so if marketing can write the emails so that they are much more targeted for what the prospect had said in that lead form, for example,
Yeah.
they have a greater likelihood of getting paid attention to.
Yeah. No, great answer. Last thing we want to talk about a little bit was a practical approach to diagnosing and fixing them. Do you want to elaborate? And I'm sure that's part of your, um, blind revenue blind spot
Right.
program.
Well, diagnose first. That's really it. Take the time, and that's what I do is to go into a company and work with the company and provide a diagnosis for um, what the problem is. You don't. What's the saying? You want to fix the leaks uh, before you start pouring in more leads into the bucket.
Yeah.
Um, you need to be able to, as I said, trace that path from somebody who raised a hand um, all the way through to um, a close, and you want to really examine where the fix is, because the fix is usually connecting what you already have. There's not a need to do a lot of um, new. You don't need to hire more. You don't need to generate more leads. You need to fix uh, you've got to fix what's broken now.
I mean, this should totally appeal to manufacturers who are so process driven.
Uh-huh.
Apply some of your total quality management, process improvement, continuous improvement
Mhm.
principles
Mhm.
to the sales and marketing process. And you know, I always feel like manufacturers, they know that framework inside and out. And I'm always kind of bewildered why some more of them don't apply it to the sales and marketing, because I don't think it's a real difference in terms of just how organizations operate.
Yeah, I think that you're spot on, and um, it's it's a situation, it's a standard that's been going on for so long. It's so deeply ingrained in so many organizations. I've done a lot of study on the conflict between sales and marketing, and it was back in, I think it was 2006, that Philip Kotler wrote a Harvard Business Review article on the conflict between sales and marketing, and he provided um, a discussion and some solutions there. And as you know, Philip Kotler was like the grand poobah of marketing, and he was the guy that everybody followed because he, knew all and could see all. But that was 20 years ago, that he published it in the leading business journal, and the situation has not changed.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
This just seems to be one of those eternal problems
right,
that never gets fixed.
right. And so it's I'm going to say it's not really something where you can point to, you know, any one person or team or organization to say that it's, you're doing it wrong. I think it's just because they've never had a process for doing it right.
Yeah. Well, very intriguing, Susan. We're coming up on the top of the hour here, but really interested in learning more about Revenue Blind Spot, and looking forward to following you and seeing things you publish, and more insights that you generate. Because yeah, this is just a huge problem. Um,
Awesome.
if somebody wants to work with you, Susan, how do they get in touch with you?
You can email me at susan@sgtyson.com. If you're a not yet, in that not yet category, follow me on LinkedIn. And that's linked, the standard format for LinkedIn, linkedin.com/IN/Susan Tyson. I post every day. There's something, some nugget, some piece of information that I have there every day. There's also my website if you want to go there, sgtyson.com. So that's another area where you can reach out to me.
Okay, great. Susan, thank you so much for joining us and chatting about this. I love this topic, and I think it's the whole ball of wax. If somebody can figure this out, and but like you said, every organization is different, and everybody needs a Susan Tyson to help them kind of figure it out.
But yeah, that's it. And what I do, I don't need to come in for any long-term engagements. I come in and work for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. So short-term engagements to identify and diagnose what the problem is. Once a company really has that diagnosed, they can usually handle it from there.
Okay, Susan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Greg.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us on yet another edition of Thought Leaders.